Hi, I'm Rob Brownie from Insight Acumen. This is another video about models built using ExtendSim. In this case, it's an iron ore mine and looking at the grade movement model. And that's a screenshot of the front of it. So the scope of work, I was contracted by a multinational mining company late in model development to finalize some key features. And key features that were added to assist the analysts were train generation, business rules and logs, and for information outputs, lists, tables, plotters, and logs. Deliverables for train generation, the train loadout, the requirement was to check that percentages of trains assigned to types 1 and 2 match the desired routing in the model, plus update the model to change how trains appear at the train loadout. So a percentage of trains would bypass train loadout 1 and go direct to number 2, while the greater percentage would be loaded at both train loadout 1 and then train loadout 2. For rake size, an additional table field was added for tons per car, cars per rake, and rakes per train, with the rake size being calculated during simulation initialization based on tons per car and cars per rake. And we added a train log, so a log of trains was coded to verify both the existing code as well as new programming. So for train generation, the new pathways for trains, we needed to add the potential for alternate train routing and program that into the model. So this is a screenshot from the model showing pathway options for the trains. On the right-hand side, we have train entry. We have train loadout number 1 here, train loadout number 2, and the train exit. So options for trains were to go to train loadout number 1 first, and then go to train loadout number 2. But there was also a percentage of trains that would bypass TLO 1 and go directly on entry to the model to train loadout number 2 and then exit. And another deliverable on the train side was the train log. And this was a log produced using test data only. So in this particular train log example, we have the train ID or train log ID. In the first column here, we have the train types. There are 2 types. The number 2 was the one that that went to train loadout number 1 first, and then TLO2. And train type number 1 did the bypass. So there was no going into train loadout number 1. Those particular type 1 trains went solely to TLO number 2. So for example, the train type number 2 that went to 1 followed by 2, then we have details for both the TLO1 columns, entry, exit, time spent, and also entry to TLO number 2, entry time, time left, and time spent in that particular train loadout. Whereas for those that bypass number 1, we don't have information, of course, as expected in the TLO1 columns. And this table would build at runtime. All right, another key deliverable was information outputs. So key information outputs were rake list, and this list included the time railed, the tons, and some key components, and they were iron, phosphorus, silica, aluminium oxide, and LOI, which is loss on ignition. And you can actually see these particular components in the pre-crusher fingers log below. So percentages as well as tons in that example below. Also included in the outputs, pre-crusher fingers, and this included life cycle tables, weighted average grade, and plotters For post-crusher stockpiles, we included life cycle table, the weighted average grade, and plotters. And on the ore handling plant, we included rehandling information and plotters. This is an example of post-crusher stockpile plots using test data only. Top left, we have stockpile 1, stockpile 2 to the right, below to the left, stockpile 3 and 4. And if we pick on stockpile 1 here, we can see stacking as the tonnages build to around about 180-ish thousand tons, and then reclamation here, and then that process repeats. And similarly for the other stockpiles, with 3 and 4 simply being less busy than 1 and 2. And the big question is, so what? Insight Acumen was able to parachute in, so to speak, late in the modelling project to support the decision maker, continue model development, and incorporate required features. Post-development of the model was used by company analysts for testing various possible futures and stockpiling grade options. Outcomes of that analysis and return on investment was unknown. These are my details. Feel free to contact me via email, my website. You'll also find me on LinkedIn. And in that presentation, we discussed an iron ore grade movement model, key aspects where I was able to add value. Thank you very much for watching.